Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Harika. So in this video, I'm going to project a use case on UiPath Forms. So before I actually run you through the demo, um, let me just give you a high-level understanding on the use case that I wanted to project. So first, I have a free source payslip that I've got it from Google. So this payslip, I just wanted to project in my form. So but this payslip will not be generated as in when the form opens up, but then the user have to provide in the details like name, employee ID, and the password. So this is basically a password encrypted, I can say. So once after you provide in the password, which is exactly corresponding to that particular employee ID, only then the form will be opened. So in this use case, we will be learning many things. So let's go through the workflow and see how this actually works. So I'm going to run the file and show you what we are going to showcase here. So here my process is running and it shows up the form, and my form contains name, employee ID, and the password. So here I'm going to type in the name, employee ID, and then the password. Let's say 1234 is my is the wrong password that's associated with the employee ID. And then I would go ahead and say I wanted to see the payslip. So I click on the payslip button, but then this will not generate my payslip. I mean, this will not shows up the payslip that's associated with this. And this will be done only when once after you give the right password associated with the employee ID. So I'm going to click on employee, payslip, and then that would give me the actual payslip. And once after this is done, I will click on the close button, which will closes the form. So here I wanted to showcase in this demo, the first thing is once after you give the right password, only then the payslip's gonna shown up. And but if you observe, the form is not getting closed until you click on the close button. So that means when you click on the payslip, the process is still running. The form is not getting closed. So these are the few things. And also you can also find how we can insert a image into a form, and how you can not close the form on clicking on a button, and how you can do all these different types of actions, and how this process is actually happening. Let's try to recreate the workflow and see how we can do this small piece of code. So for this, you should have the dependency, which is form.activity, that you should actually have to install. So if you're not sure how to develop a form and what it actually does, you have my first video on UiPath Forms. You can just try to check, which actually talks about the basic information about the form. But still, if you're not having any idea, but still this video will help you to start it from the scratch, because we are going to build the form from the scratch. So let's take a sequence, new sequence. So once after you take the sequence, what we need is a form. So just go and type in the form. You can see here we have a create form. Just pull that activity into the hidden demo workflow. And then we are good to start with this. So you have to design a form first. So open the designer, form designer. And then here you have to drop in the activities like, components, like what's the text field. First, I wanted to give in the name, and then you have a property name, and then you have to provide in the employee ID, and there comes the password. If you wanted to hide the password, you can really do that. You can have an option called mask, or you can take, instead of preferring a text, text field, you can choose an option called as password, which will hide the, it will mask the password that you actually enters in there. So it has an option called password. Just save this. And later comes, so once after you do this enter the information into these three fields, so there comes the button, which is you wanted to check the payslip, right? So you can just go ahead and give the payslip and just take the property name, which is submit, or you can change this as well, like let's say payslip or whatever. So here you have to, in order to not close this form, when you click on this, you have to provide in the key value here. So let's say close on submit. This should be false. So once after you provide this key and the value and just say submit, just copy this and say submit. So I'm just saving. Now you just need one more button. So this button will actually, let's say this is a close button. I wanted to close this. So I just wanted to change this into red color. Let's say I will change the theme to this and then save. So if you just see, clicking on this button will not close my form, but on this would do. So just close it and just run the file. If you see, clicking on this will not close my form because I have provided the property, and then this would do that. So the process is still running in the do block. So it has never returned back. So let's do one thing. I can open the form designer and can change here. In order to use the particular, we can just run the workflow. And then you can see I'm clicking on the close and the form gets closed. So actually what happened before is when you click on the payslip, it's not getting closed because it's never returning back to the form. So that's what it's happening. So let's see how we can, so that's part one, which we have observed, like how we can, let the form not getting closed on submission. So that's one property you have to enable, which is close on submit. So just do that close on submit as false. That will not close the form. And then after which we want to use a particular action. Let's say clicking on this word, what usually happens after clicking on this? So you can see the process still keeps on running, but it was not doing anything. So what actually happens when you click on this is the form still is not closed, but the whatever the workflows that are there in the do block will get executed. But as of now, we don't have anything, but let me just show you. What it actually happens is, let me take a box and then pull it over here and then mention like do block and just save. Then run the file. If you see here, I'm clicking on the payslip, and if you see the do block is getting executed, and then I'll just say okay, and now the process stopped. That means it has, the control has come back to the form, and then now I'll just say close and the form got closed. So that's what actually happens. Now the flow is actually something like the form gets opened and the do block gets executed. Once after it's get executed, then it will control will again go back to the form, and then the do block gets executed. So it's the process would actually happen in that way. So now we are clear like how the process actually flows, and the second thing is how the form has to be not to be closed on a submission. That's the second thing. And now let's see how we can integrate an image into a form. So I'm just opening the designer and I wanted to use an image. So here I have content. So I'll just pull in the content over here. And then I want to insert the image. So let's take it. I have in my same file project folder. So I just inserted the image and you have options like how you want it to be, how you want this to be aligned and all these options are there. So once after it's done, so just save it and then save it, close. And then you can run the file. And there you go. You have everything and you have the image also that's been inserted into the form. But then my condition is, I'm just closing this and coming back to the workflow. But now my requirement is I want, initially I want this image to be hidden. So let's check what are the properties that we have here. So if you just observe, we have a property called hidden. Let's try check it out if that works. And then I'm going to run the file. And I have my form. If you see my my image got hidden, but then now I want it to be hidden based on a condition. Like let's say, let me close this. Once after I click on the payslip, only then I wanted the image to be appeared. But now in this case, the image is hidden all the time. So let's go to the form designer. And here, after I click on this, so here we have an option called as inside the data, we have a component which is called as hidden. So let's pull that component over here. And then I would give hidden component. And let's collect the field key of this and then just save. So this is my component, which will help me to decide the appearance of this particular payslip image, I can say. So just what I'm going to do here is once after I click on the payslip, I wanted to, you have observed how the flow is running, right? So once after I click on the payslip, the flow is, the control is going to the do block. So here what I'm doing, I wanted to show my image only on activation of the hidden component. So here I have my field key of the hidden component. So let's see how I will bind it. So I'm just going to save this and close it. And now here I have my collection. So here, this is the place where you can bind the arguments that are there inside the form to the variables that are there in your workflow. So let's see how we can do that. So here I am using a hidden component. So here I'm using a hidden component, which is an in-out. And then I wanted to assign it to a variable. Let's say the value of this is Boolean. And then I would use Boolean hidden component value. So let's take this and then say OK. And now I wanted to use this particular value and assign a value to this. So let's say I'm going to assign a value here. Here I'm going to say that as a true. Okay, here I just wanted to make some things clear. So we have initially seen the flow, like once the form gets opened, and from there, if you're not closing the form on submission, the process control would go to the do block, right? So here we are taking the logic behind the flow, and we are trying to use our logic. I mean, we are trying to align our requirement as per the logic. So once after the control comes from form to the do block, as the form is still open, we are assigning the value which is true to the hidden component. That means this value we are passing as an argument. So we are passing that value into the hidden component. So once after the hidden component value is true, we have to link that condition to our image. So let's go to the image now and edit it. Just give a condition. We have an option called as conditional. And then here, this should display, this has to be display when the form component, that is our hidden component, is true. So this can be true only after we click on the payslip, and the control would go into the do block. Inside the do block, we are assigning the value. And once after the assignment, the control again comes into the form, only then the image will be displayed. So that's how we have designed. So the flow is happening something like that. And then we're just closing this. So let's check it out, how this will happen. So we have our form here, and then I'm clicking on the payslip. So it has gone into the do block, but then, okay, if you observe, yeah, once after it has gone into the do block, I've clicked on the message box, and then we can see the image that's been appearing over here. So I'm just closing it. But then if you just observe here, we're not providing any information. Don't you think this is a confidential data that is password encrypted? Only then, you know, if the right password is given, only then the image should be appeared. So to do that, let me just do a small trick over here. So what I'm going to do, I'll just take a condition. This is just a logic that we have to implement. So let's say now I don't want this message box, because that's just been built to explain you the flow of how the form actually works. So what I'm going to do here is, in the if condition, I wanted to give, let's say, I want to retrieve the password from the form. So once after you give the details and you click on the payslip, if the password is correct, only then I wanted to provide you the payslip, like the image. Otherwise, I'm not going to provide you the image. If the password is correct, only then I'm going to do that. So for that, I have to first take the password from the form. So how can I do that? The password value is saved into a field key. First, we should get that field key. So just edit this and then go to the field key and copy this field key value and just save it. So that value, you have to bind it over here in the collection. So password is the field key that we are getting it. So which is an output variable, and then it's a string. And then the value, what we are getting it from there is str password. So I'm getting this value. So let me just take this value str password. So as of now, let's hard code this value to some certain value. Okay, dot equals to, let's say 1 2 3 4 ABCD, something that I've kept. So if it is equal to this value, only then I'm assigning this as true. So once after it's true, then only the condition is given in a image that my payslip will be appearing. Otherwise, it will not appear. So that is how I binded it. And run it. So let's check this out. Let's say I'm clicking on the payslip. So if you see, the process just ran and the control has come back to the form, but it is not displaying the image. So let's say I'm giving the wrong password and still the same. And now I'm giving the correct password and now I could see the form. So this is how you can actually encrypt a particular image or the details. Let's say you have a bank account wherein you have to give the customer ID and the OTP or something like that, and then only then you can see the balance of the that's there in an account. So in such way you can actually bind the details and use a hidden element that we have used in this example, and you can hide the confidential information which is linked to that particular employee or the customer with the password. So you can actually do and you can actually link this with the forms by just data binding and also by using the hidden element and all these concepts. So I can actually close this form by clicking on the close. So let me just summarize the things what we have learned as a part of this demo. So first, we have seen how to create a form. If you're a very beginner to the forms, we have seen how to create a form and what are the dependencies that are there. And secondly, we have seen what is a flow, actually how the flow of a form happens. And third thing is how to not close a form on a submission or on a clicking on a button, how you can do that, how you can enable that property. And then you have also seen what is a hidden element, hidden component that's there in the form, and how you can use it, how you can use the properties to bind with the actual data, and how you can insert an image into the form. And finally, we have seen how to link the password or the data that's coming from a form, how to use the data from a form, and that data you can bind it with some action that's that will reflect based on the output of that particular component's value by using the field key. So this is how you can actually do that particular thing. I hope you found this video useful, and if there are any questions, you can comment below the video, and I would like to help you with that. And in next video, I would like to showcase like how what are the different ways that you can providing the data in a table and how to use different other components of the form. And if you have any suggestions or any questions on the form that how to use in a particular scenario or how to use a particular component, you can also comment below the video, and I would like to help you with that. Thank you so much for watching.